the political and the cultural, spiritual decay you see in this country is precisely because there is deficiency or absence of black consciousness in governance of this country. And that's why even when people are governing, they still have to go to white people and then hire them as consultants and then teach them how to govern. Erase all the memory, of the indigenous people. So it is right that culturally and spiritually, politically, when we say we are free, this country should be changed by black people and Africans in this country. So in short, and in the final analysis, the land will be in the hands of the people as a whole, through the agency of the state.
By the people, you mean black and white? By the people, you mean black and white?
Remember, we've said in this country, there will be no black, white, and that, and Chinese. Yes. There will be one people in one Azania. So,
Fikile Mbalula?
Yeah, there's volume there.
There's volume there?
Volume.
A lot of volume. Let me speak about...
I hope you didn't get me wrong.
No, I got you. I got the volume.
I'm saying it's audible.
Yeah, I got the volume.
It's audible.
Yes. Yeah. I got the volume.
Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, King053, Mr. Easy Imali Enengi, and we're back at it again with another one. And, we have been blessed to have a president of AZAPO to come and give us a visit and give us some interesting thoughts, his perspective, his political ideology on how he thinks about the state of South Africa today. We're going to be speaking a lot about AZAPO, where it comes from, how he started and everything. But before I go into all of those things into depth, my president, thank you for coming in. For the sake of for the people who might not know you, just a short introduction, where you come from and how and when you joined the AZAPO.
Mapshongwane, we are honored as AZAPO, and thank you very much. And this means a lot to us, And my name is NELVIS QEKEMA. I was born in a small rural area in the Eastern Cape. They call Nweba or Kerkut. That's the colonial name, Kerkut, which has now been kicked away, Nweba. But actually, I grew up in Gqeberha, which used to be called Port Elizabeth. Gqeberha. That's me.
Okay.
And I joined AZAPO in 1982 when I was recruited into that organization. And I'm still here.
Yes.
And I'm going nowhere.
Wow, 82.
I'm enjoying myself.
How old were you in 82?
In 82, I must have been, I think I must have been around 17 or 18, I think, thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, now that brings me to my second
I'm
question.
not as young as I look. Okay. Let me warn you.
Well, they say black ages well. So, that's the advantage that we have as African people, that we age very well. Going straight into the matters. I'm moving now from 82, where you have joined AZAPO, obviously been trained, and many community meetings I can imagine, political education I can imagine. I'm going now straight to 1994. I'm looking at the ballot paper. There's no AZAPO.
There could be no AZAPO on the ballot paper in 1994 because there was no land on the ballot paper in 1994. There was no restoration of the humanity and dignity of black people, and there was no wealth. There was no economy, there was nothing on the ballot paper in 1994, and that is why you could not see AZAPO. The constitution itself, which governed 1994. It was a constitution that was baptized and then adopted by the 1993 Apartheid Parliament. So the constitution that ruled 1994, it was that. And then the constitution you're told about 1996 later, it was not a new constitution because the 1993 constitution had said you are going to have this constitution based on the 34 constitutional principle crafted by the within the apartheid ambit. So that's why you could not find us there. We would not co-manage apartheid. We would not co-manage our slavery and the lack of our dignity.
I would argue personally that we still find ourselves at this point where we started 1994. If you did not come into the ballot paper 1994, why is it important to come into the ballot paper 2024?
In 1994, remember, you also had something else that was called a GNU, a Government of National Unity, which then meant that apart from the constitution, which was forced down our throat, and which had a section 25, the property clause, which threw away the land. And then if you read a section 25, 1 in bracket, it starts by saying, no one will be deprived of their land. Tell me.
Yes.
What kind of a black person will write that when you've been deprived of your land, and then you write into your constitution, nobody will be deprived of their property, their land. No, you can't. So therefore, in that setup, that configuration of government of national unity, AZAPO would not be part of that. And we want everyone who comes into power will in fact be blackmailed to protect the land and the property in white hands. As we are speaking today, 98% of the economy, the wealth, is in white hands. It's less than 2% that black people are fighting over, which is in fact falling off the tables of white people, and then sponsorships and some shares, and that is why AZAPO would not be part of that setup.
Okay, so you are not seeing AZAPO, what can we say, boycotting or abstaining from the elections 1994 as one of the biggest mistakes the party has made?
No, not at all, never. And then we are proud that we could express that type of a sacrifice. Remember, it was a sacrifice because at that point in time, resources were available in abundance to political parties, and then you were given millions, offices, cars, and everything if you're going to participate, because the US, UK, the imperialists were behind that, because for them it then meant that apartheid would survive and coloniality would survive, institutionalized racism would survive, but they would keep the economy, the wealth, and everything in their hands, the land in their hands. That's what it meant. So they pulled the wool over our eyes by so doing. And then that's why you had that type of a setup. So indeed, we did suffer. Not going to lie to you. We did suffer because we lost ground, we lost space, we lost resources. It then meant that when we came back later, we came back when they had now closed themselves in and then keeping the gates and say, if you want to come in, you've got to pay 1 million, 2 million deposit, which was not paid in 1994. And then it also meant life was very difficult for us, even in terms of coverage. You wouldn't get coverage because the quotas favored those who were already in parliament. So indeed, we did suffer, but we suffered. We've been suffering. We lost our land, we lost our lives. Steve Biko is not here, Soboko is not here, Chris Zani is not here. I mean, thousands and thousands of people in the land wars, Battle of Ngome, and then you name them, Sharpeville, and June 6th uprising. We've been dying. Even inside democracy, Marikana massacre, killed by our own people, those we voted for, those we said, can you now take us into democracy and freedom?
Command.
Yes, and they killed us. So I agree. But we are proud of having paid that price because people are beginning now to say, AZAPO, you were right. People in the ruling party are saying, AZAPO, you were right. This constitution is nonsense. It's an enslaving constitution. You're beginning to say, people here in Khalishwa where we are, there is no water. If there is water, it's water that is, the quality is not there. You know, it's water that is rationed with JoJo's. Once a week you must go and queue. Black people queue all the time. We queue before we are born. We queue when we are born. We queue when we are alive. We queue when we die. We queue after death. That's what we're doing. You know, we're lining up.
Okay, Kema. How do you feel about name changing of cities, streets, monuments, and all those things? What is your perspective as a Pan-Africanist?
Well, my starting point is that that's very important because remember when we were robbed of our land and at gunpoint, in fact, the first thing that they did, you know, they remove all the symbols, you know, for our people, the indigenous symbols, cultural symbols, social symbols, spiritual symbols, anything you can talk about. And then they then implanted their own memory, you know, on our mountains, on our rivers, on our valleys, on our streets, on our seas, our oceans. And then they did that so that they erase all the memory, you know, of the indigenous people. So it is right that culturally and spiritually, politically, you know, when we say we are free, this country should be changed. In fact, I'm wrong to say this country should be changed. In fact, the name, the colonial name South Africa must be removed so that underneath the actual name and indigenous name of this country, Azania, must emerge. You know, and then that is why every place here must be named after what it is actually. Remember, it's not as if there were no names. There were names, but their names were removed. You know, so therefore we need to remove, you know, the apartheid surface, and so that the indigenous and then the liberated self can emerge in terms of symbols, in terms of who we are. That spiritual connection is important.
Let me ask it in this fashion. If indeed we believe in name changing, do you think it should start in the home, where we no longer give our children these white names, what they call, what are the Christian names, or whatever they call them? And also, would it be a fair question to ask, then why is it that your name is not changed? Because you only have one name, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed.
Melvis.
Yes, NELVIS indeed.
Yes.
And that's the starting point, you know. So it is right that people should be rejecting the colonial names, you know, and that because those are not our names, you know. If you do that, it's part of liberating yourself at a spiritual level. Now, if you look at myself, my name is NELVIS. I don't know what it means. I really don't know what it means. And then I'm told that the name was given to me because an aunt at that point in time was taking care of a white boy, you know, where she worked, and the boy the name was Neville, you know, and so the name was given to me as that. Do I hate that? Do I hate that? No, I don't, because I understand the significance, because there is a demonstration of motherhood, parenthood, that our parents can take care of anybody else and then bring them up as if they are own, you know, the connection with a child that is not their, you know, a biological child. That was the connection. But what happened? The people in the villages processed my name. You know, when it was supposed to be Neville, they changed it a number of times until in the end, something like Nelvis emerged. So Nelvis is not what was given to me at birth. You know, it's what the people processed and the interpretation. And then because just the tongues and the minds of the people just refused, you know, to connect with the name, but they would then still. So in a sense, when I wanted to change my name and give myself another name, but then people said to me, no, you can't change that name because that particular name, Nelvis, we were given by your ancestors. Keep that name, and it's your brand. It's who you are, because there's history behind that name. There's symbolism behind that name. It may be that there's no immediate meaning, from that name, but the symbolism is very important. The spiritual symbolism of the people taking over and say, we reject that. We see ourselves as Africans as self-defined. Self-defined. You can give. That's why our people says, you say this is Verfoot. It says, okay, it's Verfoot. It's Velefoot.
Yes.
And then you can say that our people says, okay, we want to be in charge.
Yes, we'll make it our own.
Yes.
When it comes to political education, you grew up in a very strict time where political education was forefront of everything that you were doing. Very important to understand your history, your morals, where you're standing, and where you are going to do, or where you're going to go. What is AZAPO doing right now, in particular to its youth? Is there political education? In what form does it emerge in this day and time?
Well, everywhere you go, there is no contest about it. It is accepted. In fact, it has become our second nature, our name, that AZAPO are intellectuals. I mean, everybody will tell you, those guys are intellectuals. Yes. And then we have accepted it. The reason for that is because in AZAPO, we prioritize on education, political education, to the extent that we don't only teach and train you about AZAPO, Black Consciousness, and Steve Biko, and about Azania and Africa, but we also teach you about your enemies. We also teach you about your competitors, because I can only know myself. If I know you. If I don't know you, I can't say I know myself. I can only know that I'm tall if I'm standing next to you and you are less tall. It's when that I will know that I'm. So it's important that when you understand the self, you also understand the other, because together they go together. So for us in AZAPO, education is very important, and that's why right now, at every step on the turn, we make it a point that if you're going to be a member of AZAPO, we educate you. Because if you're not educated, you're going to be a problem, not only to AZAPO, but also to the nation and the people as a whole.
Speaking about that education and that enemy you're speaking about, that we have, I feel like sometimes when you speak to today's people, they don't know what actually they have lost. What have we lost according to you?
We lost our humanity. We lost our values. Our culture as a people. And that's the first thing you do to anybody that you're going to own or oppress or enslave. The first thing you do, you destroy their identity. They must not understand who they are. That's why you have people in America today, they don't know who they are, because they are now Johnson, the son of John or whatever, the slave of John or whatever. They can't understand where they come from, who are they, and if you look at the French colonialism, they make it a point that they assimilate you into their culture. They remove yours, destroy yours, and that is why language and everything. That's why you get in the Western Horn of Africa, people can no longer speak their own languages. They speak French to an extent that even the education budget of those Western countries is funded and provided for, including the books, of course, the textbook by France. That's the importance of the culture, and that's exactly what they do, and that's why they sent their missionaries here, and that's why they gave us the book, and that's why they told us that God is not like us, God is white, so that if God is not like you and God is white, so you understand that you are not God. So God is therefore the people who are like God must be the God on this earth, and that's why we've been following all the time. And then they change even the way we worship. We as Africans, you know, a spirituality was a way of life. We never had a 1 hour set aside to go to church. We never had a building, you know, to go to church in 1 hour. We never had to go to church in one day, and all the other days we do no church, we do no worshiping, we do no spirituality. For us, everything that we did, whether we slaughter a cow, is spirituality, whether we do umkombod, is spirituality, whether we're gathered together, is spirituality, wherever we are, death is spirituality. It was a continuum from us.
So what are you saying about what is currently happening in the West Horn that you are referring to? Ibrahim Toure, the likes of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And now we're seeing a young man emerging in Senegal, Mr. Fahe, and they are coming out to say, listen, as Pan-Africanists, we no longer want French, we no longer want these borders. What is your standing when it comes to borders in Africa?
Well, starting with what is happening in the Western Horn and with those coups that you saw there in about 5 countries or so, Mali, Burkina Faso, and all of them, Chad. And now what you are seeing there is that in the short term, there is great, but only in the short term. Yeah, because theirs is a reaction, you know, against foreign domination, and they're saying, look, we're Africans, we're ourselves, we want to rule ourselves, national self-determination, get out of here. We want to reclaim our humanity, our dignity, and our culture as a people. So in the short term, that is great. However, in the long term, that is problematic, in that you do not see citizen activism in what is happening. That is change not from below, but change from above. You know, and that change is militarist, and there's a problem with that change. There is gun around that change, and you do not see the involvement of the people, and that change is not massified. And then in no time, that change we're clapping hands for can end up being a dictatorship that is very rough and ruthless against the people by their own sons and daughters. That's the problem with it. However, in the short term, this looks good, but AZAPO is not clapping too much. Our clapping is guarded, and we're looking at the next stage until, you know, that change is democratized, you know, and then it transcends into the people, and the people take ownership of that change.
Okay, no. When it comes to land, how do you think we're going to get land? If land was taken forcefully, are we right to say it must be returned forcefully also? Or do you see a democratic way because what white people are doing, they are organizing themselves. You have Kleinfontein in Gauteng, you have Orania in Northern Cape, you have Fatherland in Limpopo, and many other smaller nyana farms emerging where only white people are staying. And what they are doing is training themselves military-wise to say, should we get it at a 2/3 majority as black people and try to take the land without any expropriation, they will fight back. What is your view on that? And are we ready? Do we even have the army to take back land? Do we even have the will, the political will to say we want to take back this land?
You get my answer to that in my departure question when we started.
Yes.
It's precisely for that reason that AZAPO boycotted the 1994 elections. Remember, part of us boycotting the 1994 elections is also because we're trying to discourage the whole thing, because our struggle as our revolution, the Azanian revolution, was being short-circuited, and AZAPO was opposed to that. And it was exactly at the time when AZAPO and its army, the Azanla forces, was beginning to, you know, to ascend and gain recognition throughout the country, and were receiving training in Syria, training in Zimbabwe, training in Libya, and then we were now negotiating training and arms, you know, from Iraq itself, Saddam Hussein, and then just about that. And when we were in ascendancy and our army was hitting hard inside the country, and then we deployed our forces ready and moving, that's when they get into this thing. can you now see that come 1994 and our guns were thrown away? Now we cannot use our guns against our own people and then the government they voted for. We can't. Otherwise, we'll be bandits if we were to do so. But and then what can we do now? The only aperture that is now available is to be able to use the electoral democracy to try and see if we can regroup as a people and then unite as a people, and then using their instruments first you get your 2/3 or whatever when you come together, regroup, and then you change the constitution. You change the constitution, you use their legal instruments, and then to take it back against back the land. So you can use the constitution, you can use your power in parliament in order to regain the land. And when you do that, but that type of doing it is what is usually called expropriation, when you do it like that without compensation, because you're doing it the legal way. Another way would be to encourage the people themselves, and as they have been doing, to go and says, we're going here, we're taking over this plot, we are coming in, we're taking over this plot, and then you turn a blind eye as the government, as they've done in Zimbabwe.
Not the red ends.
Yes. You turn a blind eye, and then after that, because the law says if people have settled in, and then for a time, and you cannot remove them. If you remove them, you must give them alternative accommodation. Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Give them water, electricity,
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
AZAPO, what is AZAPO saying? Should white people return where they come from? Or should we find a way to live with them? Are they tolerant to us? Or they're just living because they still have the economic means? But when we come to return where white people must return, that's their biggest fear, because abaning babo, they don't even know where home is. They've been home here for just too long now. They see themselves as Africans. So my question is a twofold question. One, are white people considered as Africans? One. Number two, what is AZAPO's stance in terms of the statement saying white people must return where they come from?
No, well, remember, white people came here as settlers, and then they started treating us as animals, or worse than animals, because they treat their animals better than us, because they sleep with those animals and their dogs in bed, and they bathe them. And so they treat them better than us. They take them to doctors, vets, and that's how they treated. They enslaved us, and then for hundreds and hundreds of years. But you must understand that the content of the Black consciousness philosophy, is anchored on humanity. And that is why in our slogan, we talk about one Azania, one nation, one people, and then where we say, when we take over as a ZAPO, a color will not be a reference to define the people, and religion and so forth. That will not be your color of your skin and all that. We are now saying, when we do that, we must ascend. We are not going to return slavery with slavery, because they did this to us. No, because our philosophy is higher, in terms of values and humanity, and nobody will be chased away from this country. But did I say nobody should leave when they want to? No, they are free to leave. If you think you don't see yourself as part of this cultural, historical, political, social, economic make-up, then okay, there's the airport. If you don't want the airport, there's the sea. It's up to you.
Okay, let's take this land as if it's a buggy. I want to simplify my question around this land issue. My grandfather comes to your grandfather, kills him, then rapes your grandmother, then takes your grandfather's buggy. The buggy is now transferred to our family. My grandfather then uses that buggy to generate wealth, passes over to his son, which is my father, and your father gives birth to you, my father gives birth to me. And then the baki is now 5 bakis, is no longer 1 baki, it's generating wealth. And then when it comes to, when the wealth comes to me, it's like 5-10 bakis that I have. But then the government changes to AZAPO, which is you now. Now you have the power, and you are saying you will lead a government that does not consider color. And you would say, it's fine, I must stay with these powers that I have, because you don't want to chase me away, you don't want to replace, like I kill your people and then I give you power and say, don't kill my people, you are a Bantu people, you are using Ubuntu, you are leading with love. Try to explain that
Yes,
one
and
to
that
me.
remember what AZAPO is saying is that when we take over, the first thing that we do, we repossess the land. We can use any instruments and legal instruments, whatever.
How are you going to take my land if you are not going to chase me out of my land?
No, we remember when we take over your land, we then entrust ownership of the land, the entire land, the land underneath, minerals, the land above, sea and the sea, and then everything, and the skies above, and then that is entrusted on the ownership of the people through the state, such that no individual or private individual or foreigner who will own the land. That will not happen, not in this country. Under the government. No, when we take ownership, what do we then do? We then allocate the land, to the people in terms of their needs, the residential, agricultural, commercial, and research, and science and so forth. That's what then we'll do. And then we'll also lease the land. There's things about title deeds. We will not have title deeds. We will not have title deeds, because that's a capitalist mode of ownership. Title deeds. And you're not going to have title deeds. And we take over the land, and then we then advance a lease agreements to the people. It could be 100 years, 150 years, and those for industrial and those. But when you go, you don't take away the land. And then in your residential, we can't, because we've taken over the land. That means that we'll take over your home and then over. No, that's not what it means. But it also does mean that we will also nationalize, the commanding heights of the economy, and we nationalize land, you nationalize the banks, the Reserve Bank in particular. Why do we do that? We do that in order to be able to have the income to be able to develop the people, and we'll also be using the economic instrument of a redistribution to be able to take from those who received through illegal means the ill-begotten wealth, and redistribute those to the people. Remember, a reverse colonialism that is being used now? Is privatization, and then it is said that no, look, people can have, they're free to have a private hospital, private universities, and so forth. Do you know what that means? It then means that the people, white people who are owning 98% of the economy, will be able to build the best of hospitals, the best of schools, the best for themselves, and then the price for you to go there, it'll be high and then inaccessible for you. And that is why AZAPO is very careful about this privatization thing. We want public institutions to be at a level that there is no need for private things. Private things.
Let me ask it in a different way. Now go back to the scenario I gave you. AZAPO is now the president. They have now taken over the ownership of the land. I still stay at my farm.
Yes.
I can still farm. The community around me depends on me.
Yes.
You then come out and say, no, this farm actually belonged to my great grandfather, which is even difficult to prove, but you said my great parents used to stay on this farm, used to work on this farm. Now, according to what you are saying, you will allocate it according to the needs. I supply the needs of the community around me, because I've been farming here.
As a
Now,
white person? Yes.
As a white person. Now we go together to AZAPO government and we say, listen, who are you giving this land? I've got the experience, the machinery of the. You can keep the land. The government can take the land from me, but I'm running this land. Is currently producing. It's contributing to the GDP of the country and all of that. This man must start at grade zero. No machinery, even the knowledge of farming, maybe it's no longer there because it's not been farming for the past 30 years.
What you're saying is exactly the critique that AZAPO is leveling against the government today. Because what the government is doing, the government is prioritizing what is called, what is that thing? I think it's restitution, you know. That the policy of restitution is to trace, and you say as an indigenous person, this was my farm, this was my land and whatever. And for the past 400 years, I've been driven out. There's people, white people, taken over and did what they've done. And then the present government does not want to go to take you back there and you take over and you run that farm. What they say to you is that, no, okay, fine. They will give you 15,000. Yeah, reparations. You give you 50,000 and can you be happy with that? And then when you look at the value of the money, it's nothing to what this guys, the interest and everything, you know, the interest of your loss, nothing close to that. So AZAPO is opposed to that. AZAPO is saying, no. Come on. That's why we sit down and say, whose land was this your land? Was it? And then those were taken back to you, and then that's where the expropriation comes in, and then we give you this thing to deal with this. But not only that, but then the government must be able to have a fund where they will be able to make available, you know, agricultural implements, you know, to the black farmers who come in, education and training. They not only that, but also funds, but not only that, but also markets. They must be able to organize them into cooperatives where they come together and as distributors and line up, you know, with the private industry. So you know that from here I deliver to Woolworths, which might be Hlongwane, Hlongwanes, you know, now. And then that's how it ought to be. So you can't just say, give land to people and then you vanish, because you are going to kill the economy. And then you're going to have your own people revolting against you when there is no food sovereignty. I'm not talking about food security. I'm not talking about food security. I'm talking about food sovereignty. Because food security is about having what is happening now, white people being in control, you know, of the production of our food to an extent that they are able sometimes to withhold production such that the prices go up, and then manipulators sometimes they, you know, and then we don't want that. We're talking about food sovereignty.
Who's going to get the land between these two people that went to the government of AZAPO? I want an answer. Is this one going to get the land who is black? Or is this one going to continue to stay on the land because he's farming on the land and there's security of agriculture and all of that? Who's getting the land?
Well, what I'm saying is that we repossess the land, and the land as a whole, as one unit, is owned by the people as a whole. But that ownership, you know, is vested in the state, that ownership. Such that there's no individual who owns the land. Even you, Hlongwane, when it comes to that point, you will not own the land. We will lease the land to you. You know, we'll lease the land to you to be able to continue with the farming, and we'll give you the agricultural. What you will be owning is the farming, you know, that you are doing on the land, you know, but you will not be owning the land. You know, you will be possessing the land, because there's no individual under the government of AZAPO who will be allowed to own the land as an individual or as a foreigner, because the land as a principal commodity belongs to the people as a whole, not an individual. We don't care even if you are Hlongwane or you are QEKEMA or you are Mayeng. You will not own the land as an individual. The land will be leased to you. We will not give you title deed. We will lease it to you, you know, rawukadima because the land belongs to the people. Siyakuboleka.
Yeah, kanjalo.
Siwumhlaba wakho, siyakuboleka.
So noboleka bani?
Yeah.
That's my question. Ubani ozobolekwa lowo mhlaba loyo? Ubani ozohlala kuloyo mhlaba? Lo ongithetha ngawo ngoku we-agriculture, where the white person since 1972 has been farming there.
Yes.
And then this one is claiming that their great-grandparents owned this land.
No,
There's two people, there's two families.
Yes.
The Fanikiak and the Shongwane that is standing
Yes,
in front of
yes.
the government of AZAPO.
Yeah, yes. What we are not going to do as a ZAP, we're not going to do that. Remember, we are not an organization of vendetta. That because you did this 20 years ago, we're not going to do that.
Yes,
We're not going to do the Chinese film. We're not going to do that.
yes.
You killed my father 20 years ago. No, we're not going to do
Coming
that.
for you.
Yes, that's not what we're going to do. Because when we're a government, we will be a government for all the people and over all the people. Whether you are black, whether you are white or whatever, will be a government for all the people. But what will ensure as a ZAPO is that this country is Azania, and this Azanian country is an African country, and this country will be run in accordance with African values, systems, and culture of it. That's what will make it a point. And we'll make it a point that black people are developed and brought up, and then there is parity in terms of the kind of wrongs that were done to black people, the remedial actions that we will take in order to take black people from here and we'll put them up here. And then when we do that, we have no intention of saying white people go back to where black people, you put black people. That's not what AZAPO will do, because we have said one Azania, one nation, and one people, and that's where we'll be, because we want to take the people as a whole up, and then we're not going to do racism in reverse, because this was done to us. We don't know. No, that's not what we are going to do as AZAPO, and that is why. Even when we had an army. But our army never went indiscriminately into white people's home and then just killed them. We didn't do that. It didn't mean that we didn't greet white people, we didn't have white people as friends, because our organization and our philosophy is not anti-white. We're not anti-white, but we are pro-black and pro-African.
In conclusion, Faniker could keep the land.
The land.
No, we are not against. I'm repeating
the
what
land,
you're saying. We are not against Fanika.
The land, in conclusion,
yes,
will be in the hands
of the state.
I don't like that concept. This is a philosophical matter, it's a principle matter. That's why I don't start it. You check. I don't start with the state. It will be in the hands of the people. And the majority of the people of this country are black people, are Africans. This is an African country. This country belongs to black people. This country belongs to Africans. But it belongs to Africans and black people. We have no intention of chasing any other people away for so long as they live in accordance, with the terms laid down by black people and Africans in this country. So, in short, and in the final analysis, the land, will be in the hands of the people as a whole, through the agency of the state.
By the people, you mean black and white. By the people, you mean black and white.
Remember, we've said, in this country, there will be no black, white, and that, and Chinese. There will be one people in one Azania. So there will be no reference to the people in terms of their color. But that does not mean we do not see that Hlongwane is the one, who suffered through his color. That doesn't mean we don't see that when we're making reparations and then when we're taking remedial actions. But when we do that, we will not re-emphasize color so that we come back to the reintroduction of vendetta and racism in reverse on oppressing other people. No, we have no intention to do that. Precisely. Remember. Maybe let me make this point. Maybe we forget that scientifically speaking, every human being in this country is black. I'm telling you now, it's black. And if you wanted me to, if you had time, I would not, but I won't do that. They come from Africa and they are black, and they have melanin in them and in their skin. Yeah, it's only when people start to drift away from Africa into colder and colder, snowy areas that they begin to lose their pigmentation and their melanin, and then that's also when they begin to have their nose shaping into the conditions where they find themselves, and that's the reason why today, if a black meets black, the child will be black. If a black meets white, the child will be black. And I'm not stating that to introduce any superiority of one people against another people or over another people, because we believe that in this country there's only one human race in accordance with what I've just told you. However, AZAPO is not blind to the fact that there are political races. When we're talking about human races, one human race, we know that apartheid, racism, oppression, imperialism introduced political races as a myth, of course, which they used to their advantage to oppress us, because we looked different from them, because we had a melanin in abundance over there. And then they singled us out, and they still today, this is what is happening in the whole world. Wherever, if you go to China today, they single you out immediately. They deal. You go to Russia, you go wherever you go even here in Africa, you go to Libya, you go to Mauritania, you go to Tunisia, you go to Italy. Everywhere you go, listen to what is happening in America. The arrogance and white supremacy has reached levels that who's this guy? Who's that guy? Donald Trump. Trump.
Yes.
I'm glad that my mind is forgetting him. Oh God, I'm glad. Hey, look at Trump. He look at black people there and start saying that these guys are foreigners here, they must get out of here and whatever, forgetting that he himself is a foreigner in that land, and then is a settler in that land. In fact, when you go back in time, you'll find that the original owners of the people, that land, are black people. Are black people. In fact, the entire world, the entire globe, black people. In fact, there was a time in which what you see as Middle East and some part of Europe
was ruled
by black people, and they were Africa. Ethiopia stretched right to the Middle East, right to Iraq and up there. That was Ethiopia. That place was, and it was one land before they started to come through the imperialism and break up the Suez Canal to separate people, and the Europe was developed, civilized by African, the Moors, the Moors.
Yes.
And so that's the point that I'm making to you, that this is Africa, and this is Africa, and we're Africans, and we're proud of who we are. We're proud of who we are. And then we're not chasing for anybody to take care of. We can take care of ourselves, even if we're starving. We'll take care of our starvation, and then through our starvation, we'll see what we do as a people.
I'm not sure if you noticed your tone changed when you are speaking about race and all of that, and I liked it because I want to get into the issue of youth. I say any political party without youth, it's a movement that will eventually die.
Yes.
Without youth, you know yourself in 1994, how strong you are compared to how strong you are today.
Indeed.
Today you carry the wisdom, you carry all that, but the youth in the blood is not there. We see Bonginkosi Kanyile from MK Party. You see how vibrant he is. I would even argue that the impact that he has on MK is almost as equal as Ubaba Msholozi. And also you saw how Julius Malema was with Ubaba Msholozi at that time before the separation. And now I'm looking at the youth of the ANC, the president,
Julius Malema?
No, the current.
Which one? Which organization?
ANC. The young man who's in parliament now. Why can they
ANC?
Yes.
Ramaphosa?
The youth leader.
Oh, the youth leader. I know. I'm sorry. My disc is full. I can't carry all those names.
Yeah. Anyways, we don't know his name because
I'm glad that I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will remember him when we are speaking because it's got an easy name and an easy surname. Anyways, what is AZAPO's position in terms of developing the youth and the youth making the right noise? The youth knows the technology. The youth has got the social media reach. Of which it's more important to me than any manifesting, going from one place to another. The technology at our disposal we can have a meeting, an AZAPO meeting, conference meeting in Zimbabwe, and we are here.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
What is your stance in terms of developing this youth and they having a different tone?
Yes.
Because you might come with a knowledge, wisdom, and a smooth educational tone, and then lava, the noise. Who's making the noise in AZAPO?
Yes. My starting point is that AZAPO has a principle of anti-ageism.
Okay.
Anti-ageism.
Yeah.
When it comes to leadership.
Yes.
In AZAPO, we don't believe in anything that says a young person leads better than the old person, and an old person leads better than a young person. A leader is a leader that is chosen by the circumstances, and also in terms of his knowledge and skills at that point in time, in terms of the mission and the vision and direction of the people, not age. Yeah, because you will lead better when you are 20 years. You can't lead when you are 70. Okay. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Okay. That's my starting point. Okay. Having said that, but let me remind you, the Black Consciousness Movement, AZAPO, it's an organization of young people, if you've forgotten that. It's an organization. It was started by teenagers.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, it started by teenagers in the beginning, and those teenagers were able to mobilize the entire nation, the entire people. They were able, Steve, were able to meet American senators and everyone, and as teenagers in their 20s. Yes. They did the kind of things they did in their 20s. In the belly of the beast, those teenagers of the Black Consciousness Movement of AZAPO, they were able to build hospitals in this country, literacy schools, build dams for irrigation in agriculture, and law clinics, and they did that in the belly of the beast. And yet today you have people who are in government, they have all the power, state power, they are unable to match what young people did back then, Steve Biko. So I'm making the point that I'm celebrating youth. I'm celebrating the youth. And
celebrating the youth of then.
Yeah,
the youth of now?
The youth of now is the youth of now.
And
I'm celebrating that youth because as a people, who are segmented, as society, we are segmented, and people play their roles in terms of their segments. And that's why young people in AZAPO, we see young people as the catalyst of the revolution. The people who have the energy, the people who've got nothing to lose, the people who are not bonded to anything, whatever, that a positive adventurism, if it is well guided, it will be able, that adventurism, to be able to liberate a people, spark the revolution. That's how we look at them. And then in that segmentation, they play that role as a people. But we're not saying they can't lead. They led. Because Steve Biko led at that point in time. But the point must not be made that you can't lead if you are 50, 60, or 70. That point must not be made, because our principle is anti-ageism. The point must not be made that if you are 19, 20, or 30, you can't lead, because we are anti-ageism. You should be able to lead in terms of your experience, and your experience doesn't have to be 30 years. Experience doesn't have to be there. I mean, take driving a car. There are guys who can't drive a car. Even today, they've been driving for the past 50 years. They still can't drive. And there's a Hlongwane who can wake up now as a teenager, take a car, and in a year is perfect. Is a perfect driver. And the leadership and experience is not looked at over time. You know, that because you've been 50 years here, the experience is 50 years. It may be a 50 years of nothing, doing nothing, an experience of no contribution. It may be an experience of selling out. You know, so therefore, that's not how we look at it. Our principle is anti-ageism. And as we do that, we are very careful as AZAPO to ensure that we school our people, educate our people, train our people, conscientize them, pick them up so that in no time they're ready. That's why in AZAPO you are going to be thrown into the big. In 1986, I was too young. How old was I in 1980? I can't remember now. But I was too young.
About 19.
So I was the branch secretary of Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth, 1986, and I was leading with people who were in SASO, in BPC. I was there as a young person. During that same time, the provincial chairperson in the Eastern Cape was my peer, Takayaka, you know, Sonwabo Peipa Nxale, leading everyone, and including the SASO people and everyone. So I'm making the point to that in AZAPO, no, anti-ageism. You know, we are not preoccupied with age. We're not.
Anti-AZAPO, sorry. AZAPO must not be stuck in the same loophole that the ANC is stuck in. That when we speak about current, then they quote the 30 years. Understand? Since you've become president, which is 2019?
2021.
2021, excuse me. Since you've become president, how did you empower the youth so that they could have walked the same distance that you have walked as a 19-year-old, as a 20-year-old, as a 21-year-old? Where is their space? Because whether you're an anti-age party, whatever, age is still there.
That's right.
Age is still there. What are we doing in the varsities? What are we doing in the colleges? Who's leading those structures? Who's making the noise? Who's in control of our social media space? Who's posting? Who's not posting? All of those things. What under your leadership? What strides have you achieved?
To start with, the leadership that I'm part of. The leadership I'm part of, elected in 2021, is a transitional leadership in AZAPO, in the Black Consciousness Movement. Is the first leadership that is a non-SASO and non-BPC leadership, if I can speak in those terms. It is a leadership to which a baton, has been handed over. So that's the starting point. So when you're talking about what you're doing to young people, you're addressing yourself to young people to start with. When you are trying to look for young people, you're talking to young people. To start with. A baton has been handed over to them. But what did these young people do? You can look at it's a pity he's not here. You must look at the average age in the leadership, Others are in their 20s in this leadership that we're talking, young women in their 20s in that leadership, Now, but the first thing that we've done was to be able to say, let us go and revive. I'm saying revive, because we used to be very strong in those areas, our student movement, because over the years, and then we had slowed down in those areas, and then our youth movement is a fact that we're going to run away from, because we slowed down a bit. That's where we've been going them. Now VET, and then UWC, UCT, in the Eastern Cape, in the colleges there, Forte, and there's been a mushroom of our young people. Unfortunately for them, they are not as fortunate as we at those times, because for all the organization, I don't know why that is so. The high school student organization, have are moribund. They've decayed, they've died. I don't know why that is so. And even the tertiary layer is
It's very
struggling.
poor,
I don't know, it's
very
very
poor,
poor, it's
yeah,
struggling. I don't know why. It's struggling. But that's exactly what we are doing. But not only that, because of our principle of anti-ageism in AZAPO, we're not going to say, are you a woman? Okay, then go to Imbeleko. Are you a youth? Go to Azayo. Are you a student? Go to Azasco. Yes, we will brew you up there, bring you up there, but we also need you in AZAPO. That's why, if you can look at even the provinces of AZAPO, there's a young man, yeah, that boy is so young, in the PEC of Limpopo, Delta Mpahlele. Yeah, he's in the PEC. Tabo Manyela. Those are young people all over the country. They're young people, and we are doing that. Oh, take this principle.
Okay.
Listen to this value.
Yeah.
Listen to this value. Again, in line with the principle of anti-ageism. We're not bringing these young people and these young women into the fold of AZAPO because we're trying to say thank you to them or whatever, or are giving them favors. No, no, we are doing it for AZAPO because AZAPO will only survive and be able to be perpetuated as a movement if we're able to invest in these young. It's an investment. It's not a thank you for them. We're not trying to bribe them into no. It's an investment. It's the organization trying to reinforce itself and re-perpetuate itself so that we're able to live hereafter.
I'm a political party. QEKEMA. They are crying a funding. It's the bone to be picked in almost all the small political parties. They're saying we don't have the financial muscle. I saw one of your billboard posters being vandalized, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how much does that thing cost for this small political party? Can you really make a difference in South Africa as a small political party? People are running to the Oppenheimers, they're getting millions.
Yes.
As a Pan-Africanist, you are saying no. I would argue that you should run there because you're considerate of who South Africans are, includes everyone, including them also. So uzoithatha le mali, and what can you really do without I want to vote for AZAPO, but I'm like, Ishmael, will they even have t-shirts and posters? How are they going to run? They have the principles, the political ideologies, all right, but will they get there? Will they reach will they reach everywhere without financial power?
That's precisely the problem of this country. The problem of this electoral democracy. There is a structural problem. Structural problem.
Include and exclude.
It's a structural problem. Remember, let's start here. Is that who owns the wealth of this country, the money in this country? It's white people. I've told you about 98% is in their hands. They own the wealth and everything,
It's actually in the hands of 2%.
Yes, it's a few families.
1.8%.
Yes, 1.8%. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
It's about 2 families. Yeah. Now, again, once I've made that statement again, and I move from here, and I say to you, elections and electoral democracy, are a money function. You don't have the money, you won't be able to express who you are
properly. And
the people will find it difficult to even listen to you. Well, it's very funny, people don't listen. Poor people don't like to be led by themselves. If you are poor, you come to want to lead a black person, I'm sorry, they want to be led by somebody, and then you move from there, you find another problem. So when you go deposit 2 million elections, where do you get that 2 million? It then means I can't come to Hlongwane because Hlongwane is black, is African, he doesn't have the money. We know that it's a structural problem of the economy of this country, because this country has retained the apartheid facade of the economy. So it means for me to survive, I must still go to the white family. That is why, if you look at all the political organization in this country, except AZAPO, of course, you will find that they are funded by the Ruperts, the Oppenheimers, and all of them. Why do they do that? They do that to control, the black vote, because by so doing, they are splitting the vote. Yeah, splitting the black vote, and they know that all of us split, and then we're pitted against their DA, and their DA will rise. They hope, But also, as they do that, what does that say to you? It also says to you that in this country, the way things are structurally, it is not the will of the people that matters, but it is the will of the donors, and the donors are white because it is them who control the economy, the wealth of this country. If somebody says to you, no, you must go and express yourself to the media and all that, again, the problem is ownership again. Who owns the media? The media houses owned by white people, by the Ruperts and all of them. So it then means, again, for you to be able to exercise the chapter 2 or the fundamental right of the right of expression in the Constitution, if you do not have the means, you are as good as silent and shut up. You can't speak, because even if you're speaking, nobody is listening. And that is why organizations like AZAPO, you will seldom see them on television, on anything else. If you see them anywhere else, it's because that will be outside prime time. And then again, they will not be repeated as much as others are. Remember, it's not only once, it's the repetition of the same thing, repetition and repetition and repetition.
The lie becomes the truth.
Yes, and the power of the media is such that even if a criminal appears on television 19 times, people are going to see that criminal as a celebrity. That's why they vote for some of them.
What is the AZAPO's aims as we are reaching to our conclusion? What percentage are you looking at? What is our realistic goal as AZAPO? And where actually is our stronghold?
Well, as AZAPO, within the space of electoral democracy, because we can no longer use arms anymore.
Yes.
At least not within this space.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, our aim and our ultimate objective, is to rule this country. We want to rule this country because we believe black consciousness must be mainstreamed. Yes. We believe black consciousness must be in governance, it must be in sports, it must be in academia, it must be everything you can talk about in this country, spirituality and everything, black consciousness must be there, and that is why, in fact, the reason why you see the political and the cultural, spiritual decay you see in this country is precisely because there is deficiency or absence of black consciousness in governance of this country. And that's why even when people are governing, they still have to go to white people and then hire them as consultants and then teach them how to govern, and that's why, therefore, we're saying we want to govern this country, want to rule this country. And if it can happen on the 29th, as we would want it to happen, let it be. Let it be. Why not? Let it be. But if it doesn't happen, let's the 29th of May give us the legs as AZAPO to be able to stride and run. Let it give us the arms and the punches to be able to punch and punch towards.
Those arms and legs? What percentage is those arms and legs?
We're not talking about percentage when you want to rule. When you rule, you have no percentage in your mind. You want to rule. What percentage do you want when you want to rule? Because by whatever percentage, if I rule, I rule. When immediately I say to you, I want to rule, it means that's 50 plus 1. Immediately I say that to you, Hlongwane. I don't need to give you figures. When I say that I want to rule as AZAPO, that's 50 plus 1. Yes. That's what I'm saying to you. But 50 plus 1 is too small and too little to be able to do change the kind of things we want to do. Yeah, because we want to change Parliament itself. There is no reason why we should continue and do the kind of look at Parliament itself. The structure is British. It's foreign. The structure is British. There's a guy there who walks in with something that I don't understand, some gown which we have no meaning, cultural meaning for us. He's holding some stick. It's called a mason stick. It has no meaning for us. They explain it or whatever. When you listen to this thing is foreign. The thing, the kind of things, the rituals they do, they are foreign. Ramaphosa is even unable to speak Chivenda there. You talk to his own people. You know, we must reach a time in this country where it becomes impossible for me to talk to you Hlongwane in English as I'm doing. You know, in Parliament, why is it that we are speaking English when 90% of this country are black African? They can't speak English, but it's because we are speaking to the Ruperts. You know, they are speaking to their Ruperts, their masters. You know,
we are reporting to the
they are
rest of the
reporting
world.
them because they are masters, and the US, Britain, France, and Rupert, they must understand firsthand. They don't want a translation, but for Hlongwane and QEKEMA, what must happen in the rural areas? You know, they don't get the news as it is happening. It must be translated. They will get it after an hour, 3-4 hours. It's not gonna be packaged the same. It will be snippets and snippets. You know, and then it must be translated. Kanti, who is this country belonging to?
This channel, King said so, is embarking on a journey of building a school. It's called PASETA, the Pan-African School of Economics, Agriculture and Technology.
Congratulations,
and
by
in
all
that, in that, it's already registered, by the way. In that, we are trying to also unify Africans under one language. The language that we have identified with many other African people is Kiswahili. Would that be something that AZAPO would support? An African that speaks one language, and that language, it can be whatever, Zulu, Kiswahili, or whatever, Igbo, that one language, in terms of replacing this English. Because Gafana upuma ku French, and then give a training in English. Have you really moved in your progress as a people?
Well, AZAPO supports a move that re-Africanizes this country. Process of re-Africanization, the indigenization of this country. Because this country must return to itself. It must return to itself in terms of culture, language, value systems, and everything that you think of. In fact, even the kind of psychology that is taught at school, it must not be a psychology that has the European in mind, because sometimes you find that you go to a psychologist, you can't communicate with, that psychologist doesn't understand you, because the methodology, the theories, you know, they don't suit the African personality, you know. And so the management itself, must be indigenized, you know. And then I must not, when I go to what is this thing, an interview, and then I must be trained quickly that when you go there, and you must be able to look that person in the eyes, because if you don't, that person will you know. And no, because in Africans we don't look people straight. It's rude. We don't do that, you know. And so people must understand those type of things. You must not say that I have failed when I write a letter, but I don't start by stating immediately what I want from you, but I start by laying the ground, and then in the end I tell you what I want. It's African. It's African. And then that's the reason we don't go direct all the time. That's the reason even when we pray, we don't pray to God directly. You know, we use our mediums. You know, the guys, the ancestors, and we talk to them. Can you talk to you know, to the world? So that's the reason why we do that. So therefore, the point that is here being made is that this is an African country, and we are making no apology about it whatsoever. And an African language must be developed. In fact, out of if you study all these languages, Kiswahili, Kikuyu, up in, you know, Yoruba, you go to all of them, they are the same languages. Same languages. There is no reason why we cannot even develop Kiswahili even further. Even further, because it needs to be developed further. So And as AZAPO would really embrace that.
I'm giving now percentages because you don't want to give me a percentage. The ANC gets 48%. AZAPO gets 3%. Hypothetically speaking, the ANC then comes to AZAPO and says, "Listen, we want to rope you in because we must rope some type of smaller political parties in inverted commas. I will give you some few portfolios.
By smaller political parties, you mean smaller in vote?
In number.
In vote.
Or
You mean in results that they get?
In results that they
They
are going
get,
to come out.
they-
This manufactures a result.
Because remember, some political parties are bigger than the votes they get. Okay,
Yes, of course, I agree with that. And now you are sitting there, they promising you 2 or 3 portfolios. Say, they'll make you Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Tourism, Minister of whatever, but come to forth so that the ANC can remain in power and Cyril Ramaphosa must rule for 5 more years. As the president of AZAPO, what are you saying?
Well, it's not a call that I can make as an individual as I'm sitting here. You know, I belong in an organization, a democratic organization. However, I can tell you in broad principles that there was a time when AZAPO thought that going into 1994 and if there was that patriotic front and then the PAC, AZAPO and the ANC were to speak in one voice in terms of making a point that we go into parliament and as a bloc and then we use that bloc and then we say these are the minimum demands in favor of our people. AZAPO was ready to be part of that. That's why we were part of that patriotic front. However, it turned out that's not what the others were thinking. You know, others were so whitewashed. They wanted to do it for white people. As a result, we were chucked out of that. So, in short, the point that I'm making to you is that AZAPO will listen to the ANC, PAC, even other organization. If they come to us and say, hey, AZAPO, we think you were right after all. We think you were right after all. On the issue of land, you were right. We agree with you, AZAPO. And then on the issue of the redistribution of the wealth, you were right. You know, and on the issue of the restoration of the humanity and dignity of black people, you were right. On the issue of, outlawing, mikuku and say shacks are a crime against black people, they will be outlawed, and then that's the minimum. You're right on all those things. And so, AZAPO, can we go together and then we rule together? There's no reason why AZAPO should say no. Because it's not about who you are, you come. And it's also not about what you did yesterday, but it's about the agreement what you have with the principles of AZAPO, the strategic direction of AZAPO, and what we are going to do together tomorrow in favor of black people. In favor of Azania, in favor of Africa, in favor of the black population throughout the world, in the diaspora, wherever you think of them.
So you would go with the pack of Mkonto Wesizo should they want to form that 65% with the EFF, PAC, BLA, Black First, Lemfest, and all those parties. You would move with them, but also you would also consider speaking to the ANC.
It's not about numbers. It's not about numbers.
It is a numbers game. Someone might argue that elections are a numbers game.
If that was all it was about, AZAPO would be having millions of money. I'm just telling you about AZAPO. We're a different type of an organization. We're a movement of Biko. It's not as if AZAPO cannot have millions. We can have millions because millions are available there, out there. All that we need to access the millions is to sell our souls. That's all we need. But still, AZAPO is saying, no, thank you, keep your money. We'll keep our dignity as a people. So again, I'm saying to you, AZAPO will not be attracted by numbers, because it's 65% of what they're going to rule. Our objective is not just to rule, but the content of rule. The content or the objective of rule, not just to rule. So if you want to rule and you're not going to rule on the basis of the things that we're telling you about and you're not going to rule in favor of black people, sorry, AZAPO will not be part of that. But you can be whoever, EFF, Mkondo Wesizwe, whatever, PAC, ANC, and if you come, we agree on these principles in favor of black people, taking them out of slavery, out of their bondage for 500 years, and lift them up and then restore their humanity and dignity, AZAPO will say yes.
Before I do my closing remarks, I want to give you some political names. You say the first thing that comes to your mind. Give you a name, and the first sentence that comes to your mind, you say it about that person. Carl Niels.
Who is that?
I guess that's
You assume I know these people, so I'll tell you what comes to mind. Who's that?
Yeah,
That's what comes to mind. Who's that?
Yes, that's very good. Busisiwe Mkhobane.
Oh no. These are the type of people really that they have no front, no back. Really.
Andile Ngcitama.
An amoeba. An amoeba.
Yeah.
No shape really.
Yeah.
No political shape.
Really.
And look, it may be to his advantage. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yes.
It may be to his advantage,
Yes.
you know. Or he rolls, whatever directions he rolls, you know. It works for him. I mean, at some stage, AZAPO, and some stage, a SNIF, and a stage, EFF, and some other stage is something else, BLF, and some stage is MK, and I don't know tomorrow. Yeah, well. But look, I'm not saying that's bad.
No.
It works for him. It's his strategy. It doesn't work for me. It works for him.
Fikile Mbalula.
Yeah, there's volume there.
There's volume there.
Volume.
A lot of volume. Yeah. Let me speak about.
I hope you didn't get me wrong.
No, I got you. I got the
Yeah.
volume.
I'm saying he's audible.
Yeah, I got the volume.
He's audible.
Yes. I got the volume. Cyril Ramaphosa.
Reptile.
A reptile. They call Mnangagwa a reptile.
Well, I don't know why they call him. Maybe they are the birds of the. Yeah. I hope I don't know. I don't know what you think.
No.
About a reptile. I'm saying a reptile. But that's what I have in mind. Is a reptile. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Julius Malema.
Well, Julius Malema. I think it's he's that kind of a person. Yeah, he's that kind of a person that you wouldn't mind having next to you, but you must keep on checking him. Where is he now? What is he doing?
Yes.
I hope you didn't hear me the wrong way.
I'm not interpreting anything.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
taking it
Yeah,
as
you
you're
really
saying.
need to have him next to you, but you must check him. Where
Yes.
is he and what is he doing?
Okay.
Yeah.
John Steenhuisen.
Who is he?
Ilawa basitshontshe lo mhlaba.
Okay, no, the best that he does for me, you
Yeah.
know, the best that he does for me, he reminds me of the presence and of white supremacy, and that it is here to stay. So every time I look at him, the way he deals with, the way he talks to us, and then that's why I like him. Don't get me wrong, I like him. And I do like him. I really do, because he's the type of a guy who reminds me that he robbed me of my land. He's the type of guy he's a reminder, constant reminder. So you need people like those, and the honest people who can remind you that you are an Bobean, you are this, you are this. Those people who they remind you, and then those people, they give you the energy to get going. Unlike the people who are nice to you, the people and then I like him. I like him if you get what I'm saying.
Jacob Zuma.
Well, with Jacob Zuma, I'm looking at a person that I wish I had not known him beyond 1994.
Why is that?
because I would have had, I don't go and view a dead body. I don't, personally. The reason why I don't go and view a dead body is because I want the memories, the lasting memories of a person alive walking around the home, talking and smiling. I don't want somebody twisted and then somebody that I don't want that. That's why I don't view a dead body. Let's pass.
You don't view a dead body, let's pass.
No. I was just talking about me, how I relate. I love to see a person alive, and then I did not go and view my own mother. My own mother, I didn't view my own mother when I was lying in the coffin. I didn't. Because I would like to remember my mother before 1994.
I hear you. No, I understood you 100%. There's a young man, Uvuyo Zungula. What's your thoughts about him?
Very sweet. He's a sweet person.
Okay. In our closing remarks, you are here in Khalishiwe land. That is the name. We don't call Kimba. We don't use that word Kimberley. It's a man that stole from us, killed our ancestors, threw them in the big hole. So many terrible things like that. That man. I wonder why Bachenje Pretoria and left Kimberley. Because I think for me, he's one of the most evil forces that ruled here in South Africa. Him and that nonsense which Johannes back. Anyway, you are here in our land of our ancestors. What is the ATM trying to achieve here? What are you busy with? And are you reaching your targets in terms of what you aimed to do here?
As AZAPO, yes, we are, and that's why this is the third time I'm here in 2 months. It just tells you that
very invested.
What we are saying, it's coming. Remember, we've been having a seed here. We've been having a seed here that we planted, and then that seed, it did pick up, and at some stage there was a lack of rain. There was a time when there was lack of rain, and then that rain now is beginning to come up again, but it's not still as strong as we want it to be. And that's why I'm coming back here. The prospects are very high back here. Our comrades are working very hard, but what I love about them is that they are grooming the younger generations, and I think the older comrades are beginning to say, look, we don't want to be around for too long, and then let's pick up the young people. I think if we can do that, they will be able to go to the black hole. What do I like to say? The black hole. What is it called?
I think
the big hole.
That's actually a proper name.
Yeah, the black hole. Yeah, when you go there, I hope, and I keep on saying, comrades, go there, because when you come to Kimberley, that's the place they take you to there. And I'm saying to comrades, take the comrades and the black people there for a different reason, for them to see the scar that white supremacy has left on the land. And that scar is repeated, on our culture and our personality and our humanity and our dignity. And then we must look at that as a scar, and then we need to heal that scar, because we need to heal the land, we need to heal the mind.
In our closing remarks, my president, why should I vote for AZAPO in your parting shots? And just speak to your potential voters that will be viewing this, wherever they are in South Africa. Why is it that they must vote for AZAPO?
It's because this is a movement that fought for this liberation. It's a movement that contributed to the foundations of this democracy, and therefore it being the movement that fought and built the foundation of this democracy, they are the people who have the maintenance plan for this democracy if it goes wrong. They're the people who have the memo, of what the liberation and freedom must look like, what this democracy must look like. And then the people who are in parliament, because they didn't fight for this, they didn't build the foundation, they don't have the memo. They run first and they occupy the building, but the memo is here. With AZAPO, we know because we fought alongside the people. And that's number one. And then because there's a movement, that delivered for the people in the belly of the beast during apartheid. We built hospitals in Zanempilo, in King Williamstown, a irrigation dam in Joaka in the Eastern Cape. You know, the kind of things I talked about. We did those things when we had no power. Give us power and see what we will do for you. Also because we're a movement, you know, that has never sold out in this country. We're a movement that has never, you know, stole a cent, a red penny of the people in this country. We have no one in this movement that have gone to jail because he's corrupt and or stolen from the people. We are clean, and that's why we want to go in there and then clean the politics of this country, because they are dirty, they are filthy.
Wow, thank you so much, QEKEMA. Oh, what a pleasure. I wish I can have you here back again so we can speak about more names and hear your thoughts on those people. And also, as a Pan-Africanist movement with a Pan-Africanist audience, this AZAPO, they have laid their case. I hope you have listened. Continue on the comment section to give us your thoughts and make sure that you give them your thoughts and tell them why you're going to vote for them and which areas they can improve, and staying respectfully also so on the comment section. And we wish them all the best in their political campaigning in Davos that they're going to do. Thank you so much for coming to King Said So. This is your home. Anytime you pass here, knock on the gate. We will clearly welcome you in.
Pula.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow.